Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by Steve Helwagen. A lot to get into. First of all, let's hope we hear Steve's dogs at some point during the show. He was saying he apologized before we went on in advance in case we hear his dogs. I said, no apologies. This is a very dog-friendly show, whether it's Dan Rubin's dog, whether it's one of my dogs, the late, great Dwayne Long's dog. So we would hear Bill Kurlick's dog. So very dog-friendly show here, as the chat will tell you. Steve, welcome in. Let's start with Ohio State being number one in the CFP rankings. No surprise there. There was a lot of debate elsewhere, though. And anything else surprise you from the top 25 unveiling last night?
Yeah, I think when it was over, the new committee chair was kind of grilled about some of the decisions, and like half the questions seemed to deal with why Miami is ranked so far below Notre Dame. I think there's three teams in between the two of them. And my feeling in my rankings, I have Miami ahead of Notre Dame. I guess I'm an outlier in that. When you look at the full body of work, maybe you'd say Notre Dame deserves it. They went on the road and definitely made a statement this past week against Pittsburgh. So I think they're a playoff team. And, I guess we'll see, time will tell in Miami whether or not they make the final top 11 or 12, 11, I guess, because there's going to be a group of five that's going to replace whoever the 12th team is in the rankings. But I look at it on mine. I had Georgia ahead of Texas A&M. I just think Texas A&M to fall behind a 3-6 team, 30-3 at halftime. I know the second half they played as good a half of football as probably any team in the country has played this year. But you can't fall behind South Carolina 30-3 at home. I didn't like that. Going on down, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma. I mean, you got a bunch of teams with comparable records here. And, there were a lot of murmurs. Oh, they dropped Alabama to 10. That you lose at home. That's what you're susceptible to a 6-spot drop, even though you have 4 wins over ranked teams. And were very impressive in that stretch. I think that schedule finally caught up with them as they seemed to run out of gas there this past week against Oklahoma. Had several chances in the fourth quarter to take the lead and just couldn't do it. So I think there's some intriguing teams here. USC 15 has its work cut out for them. Obviously, with what's left, I believe they are at Oregon and then play UCLA, their rival, these last 2 games. If they can win the game at Oregon, then they would bounce up a few spots. And does that take Oregon out if they lose at home? But, Michigan's lurking there at 18, and a win over number 1 Ohio State. And, they play Maryland as well this week would move them up. I did a thing about the Big Ten tiebreaker scenarios. It doesn't look good for Ohio State if they lose a game here at the end. So they really need to win out to get to Indianapolis. That's the best course of action at this point.
So if USC wins out, they're going to be sitting there at 10-2. The committee has them at 15. That would include now a win over Oregon, and that USC team is definitely making it at 10-2.
I would think,
right? What happens then with 10-2 Oregon? Is 10? I know it depends on what happens elsewhere. Is 10-2 Oregon out? It would definitely be on the bubble.
Do they have a signature win? I don't even know if they do.
They don't. I mean, unless you count. Do you count
Penn State before they fell off the map in Iowa?
And they tried. The committee chair tried to say, "Well, we still give them credit for that because that was a different Penn State team," or however he articulated it. But no, Steve, I'm looking at it. Like they beat Iowa by 2 points on a last-second field goal. It wasn't Kinnick, but Iowa's no longer ranked, so they don't have any wins over a ranked team.
Currently ranked, yeah. I think it's interesting they slipped Illinois back in there at 21. I don't quite have them that high, although I definitely don't like Tennessee at 20. They haven't done anything.
Right.
And I mean, like this committee, they must have all gone to Tennessee or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of laughable. So Georgia Tech clear down there at 16. They have a chance to make their bones when they play Georgia next week at the Dome in Atlanta. So we'll see how that goes for them. But it's going to be an interesting last 2 weeks. I'll just say that. And then the matchups for the conference championship games will be set. And we'll have even more arguments after that, I'm sure.
All right, let's get to the main topic because the Buckeyes being number one, we knew that they've been number one ever since the Texas game, and ever since I know the CFP rankings. This is only the third iteration of this year, but no surprise there. All right, what Coach Day said yesterday about injuries. Curious to get your takeaway on it. He's done this before where he says, "Listen, basically says it's nothing long term, but there is something there. We're not going to talk about it. Because if I answer one question, then I have to answer another question. I have to go down this road." But a lot of people took that and was like, "Oh, this was worse than I thought. This is really bad," and I understand that. Pat and I called it, very ominous what he said. Where do you come down? Kind of translate what you heard yesterday from Coach Day, what he said about Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate.
Okay, let's recap what we know. Carnell Tate was in uniform for the game at Purdue, was not mentioned on the injury report, which you'd think they'd be honest enough if it was something lingering all week. They said he experienced tightness, warming up. I take that to maybe mean a hamstring, pull or tightness there. So he didn't play. And then this past week, he wasn't even in uniform on the sideline. And so he certainly wasn't going to play. He was listed as out in the report. So, that was that on him. So, and Coach Day said he and Smith are both working hard to get back. And you got to take the coach at his word. If that's how he terms it, that's what it is. Regarding Smith, he was mentioned in the report as questionable. Coach Day after the game said he was on a pitch count. He played till the middle of the second quarter, and then he was done this past week. They probably already up 20-0 or whatever at that point, and had the game pretty much in hand against UCLA. Made a freaky catch there on the sideline where he twisted back one-handed and caught the ball to set up a touchdown. So, he said he was asked, did he do anything in the game to aggravate the injury? No, not that I know of, is what Coach Day said. So I take it to mean that he is quasi-available if need be, and neither one of those guys should be needed to beat Rutgers. And,
right,
it would be nice if they each got in there for a series or two, but, let's don't, lose the war by trying to win a meaningless battle here. I think, and everyone knows what I'm trying to say, I think they've shown they've got the wide receiver depth to overcome, their loss. Rutgers has one of the worst defenses in college football. So anybody they put out there ought to be able to move the ball up and down the field against Rutgers. So to my way of thinking, take it easy this week and make sure they're ready to go for Michigan. That's how I would look at it. Yeah. And I think that's all there is to it, Dave. I think people trying to read into this and read into that, he doesn't want to say anything more than they're trying to get back into the game. That's it. And, that's where it's at. I think it'll be interesting tonight after two practices to see, as he asked, did they practice? How do they look? What's his response to that? So we'll see what comes up tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I had to guess, I think both of them will sit out against Rutgers, and both of them will play against Michigan. Will they be 100%? I don't know. Probably not 100%, but close.
In a perfect world, you'd like him to play at least two series, run a few routes, go through warm-ups, maintain, some flow. You don't want him to just show up at Michigan not having done anything for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's probably not good either. So
yeah, especially with Carnell, this being his, and you have to. This is all secondary to making sure they're healthy. But if you want to play them for a little bit, especially with Carnell, this is going to be his last game at Ohio Stadium because we know he's going to turn pro for sure. He hasn't said that, but obviously he's being projected as the number one receiver off the board. So this will be his last game at Ohio Stadium, and we'll see. But I have no doubt, and what are we down to? We down to, is it 10 days now till Ann Arbor? 9 days? Our guy Brutus.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
So, yeah, I have no doubt they're going to play against Michigan. So we'll see how effective they are. All right. But I will say this about JJ. As the great Marvin Lewis used to say, he had a lot of catchphrases. I wasn't a huge Marvin Lewis fan, but he had one phrase that I really like that I still use all the time. I see better than I hear. I see better than I hear. And they can say Jeremiah did not get banged up during the game, but watch Jeremiah warming up before the game. Watch even the plays that he was out there, which wasn't many, but had a few, as you mentioned, caught a couple balls, including his every game. He's got a crazy one-handed catch that makes it look easy. It's super hard. Then you watch him walk back to the locker room. Didn't look good. He's struggling just to walk. So it's like they can say he didn't get banged up, but then how do you explain that? How do you? Yeah, I see better than I hear. So I don't know. But if I'm Coach Day, I would do the exact same thing. I'm not saying anything to the media about my guys. I get it. We're media guys saying that. So I get it. I get it. All right, let's move right along here. Recruiting's really heating up. My gosh, it's not even heating up. They just are staying smoking hot is what they're doing. They got 2 more commitments yesterday, one in the 2026 class. The kids they're going to be signing 2 weeks from today, which is crazy that they're going to be doing that the week of conference championship games, but I've said it till I'm blue in the face. They need to do the early signing period in July, but whatever. Braxton Rembert, a guy they really like, kind of a late bloomer linebacker who's committed to Wake Forest. He committed yesterday. It gives them 28 commits in the 2026 class, kids that are seniors right now, number 6 nationally. It's funny, flipping him from Wake, Steve, it reminds me of Urban's quote, we don't recruit against Wake Forest. We don't recruit against Wake Forest. Well, I mean, you might flip recruits from Wake Forest, though, Coach. And then in the 2027 class, getting Brody McNeil, the big offensive tackle from the state of Virginia. That gives the Buckeyes 7 commitments in the 2027 class already, puts them number 3 in the nation. So they're just crushing recruiting over the last couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, I think that one of the questions that came up, it might have been Tony Gerdeman asked this, about how Coach Day used to lament that you had to sign everybody or get commitments from everybody kind of before their senior year. In the summertime, you have the official visits and you get a bunch of guys to commit in June or July, maybe even August before the season begins, and you don't have the benefit of senior tape. Well, what we're seeing now is they got to see senior tape on about 10 of these guys, and they had the spaces left, obviously, because now you can go up to 105, and they're just taking everybody under the sun who knocked it out of the park as a senior. And that's how I view this. Brody McNeil, obviously, he's a junior. He's in the 2027 class, defensive tackle from Richmond. Must have had a great year, 6'5", 285. And you can't have enough big guys who can make plays at the defensive tackle position. So I think that's a huge get right there. Even though his the rankings kind of lag behind. The rankings are based kind of on the T-shirts and shorts scene during the summer, the measurables, because I just don't get the sense that the football recruiting people who rank these people get out to many games, watch a lot of senior tape, watch a lot of current year tape. They may get caught up on it, when it's all in January and go from there. Braxton Rembert is a perfect example. The 24/7 Sports Composite has him at number 590 and the number 56 edge, the number 67 player in Georgia. My assumption is his production was way beyond the number 67 player in Georgia from Mill Creek High School, Hoxton, Georgia, 6'5", 200. 6'5", that sounds kind of like Arvel Recian type metrics. So if James Laurinaitis and Larry Johnson like him, get him in here, Matt Patricia, and figure out, is he edge? Is he outside linebacker? Where does he fit in this defense? And go from there. So, they are stacking up. They are scared to death that they're not going to have enough people for spring football. That's the first thing. With guys transferring out potentially, they're scared to death that they won't have enough bodies. So they're stockpiling high school recruits. And what it's eventually going to lead to is, there's going to be a lot more movement. When you're at 105, there's going to be, that bottom 30 or 40 that has no hope of ever playing, for Ohio State. I mean, they've got guys on the roster now who've been passed over, and you look at it and you're like, man, is he ever going to get a chance? No, he's not. He's not. So it won't surprise you if some of the, middle classmen, let's just say, that have been passed over are going to leave, when the portal opens in January.
Pat and I were over there at the WAC yesterday. You were posting the Ryan Day video from the press conference, and we were doing our instant reaction from the indoor field. And we were live, but Mark Pantoni was walking by. He wasn't too close to us, but he was walking and looking down on his phone. I'm telling you, if we weren't live, or even if we were and we were a little closer, I would have said, good thing you're finally recruiting or something like that, because you can tell he's looking at his phone, maybe like kind of communicating with a recruit or something. It's about time you get on the ball here. Jeez, he's the best in the country at what he does. This support staff for the Buckeyes is just next level with, and Urban, give Urban a lot of credit. He laid the ground, and give Day a lot of credit for keeping it going. I'm not taking anything away from Ryan Day.
I don't think they make any mistakes in terms of building relationships and assessment of talent and really bringing in quality people. No one they've brought in yet has upset the culture of this team. And I think that's a tribute to Pantoni, the assistant coaches, and Ryan Day,
and
for only bringing quality people in.
Yeah. Pantoni and Mick, having those two as like the foundation, but that Day was able to inherit them from Urban and then build what he's built. He's got an all-star coaching staff with guys like Matt Patricia. Man, this defense. We're talking about injuries. I want to say this. If you're a Buckeye fan, you're a little have some trepidation now because of the injuries. I get it. I'll say this. Every team's banged up right now, including Michigan. Justice Haynes is out for the year. Marshall, I'm sure he'll play, but he's got a bum shoulder. They did the x-rays. It's not broken or anything, but I'm sure he won't be 100%. And this Ohio State defense, knock on wood, is as healthy as you could imagine, and it's as good of an Ohio State defense as I've ever seen. Going back to 1982 is when I fell in love with the Buckeyes as a little kid. And we've seen some great defenses over the years. This might be the best one, and this coaching staff is next level. James Laurinaitis, linebacker, Larry Johnson, Tim Walton, Matt Guerreri, and then, of course, the pencil himself, Matt Patricia. And they've got some support staff guys that are really good as well. Yeah.
I want to throw in back on the ratings real quick. The new chairman had his media call last night after the show. They do a teleconference, and it was like 20 questions. I bet it lasted 40-some minutes from looking at the transcript. I wasn't on the call, but I read the transcript. And the two words Ohio and state were never mentioned in the entire 4,000-word transcript, however long it was. It's like that's not even a question what the number one team is, especially with the tight games Indiana has experienced, as we know, 2 tight games, Iowa and Penn State, and then certainly this debacle that Texas A&M was in this past week at home. I mean, those people had to be thinking about jumping off of a bridge when you're down 30-3 at halftime. I wonder how many people left the stadium at that point and missed the great comeback. But Ohio State is the unquestioned number one. And each week I do a column, where should Ohio State be ranked? And it's kind of become redundant. They have the best defense. They have the most efficient quarterback. They have the 2 best wide receivers. Those are your reasons.
Their starting running back, everybody's like, well, can they run the ball? Well, yeah, I don't know. The starting running back is averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Is 6.6 yards per carry good? So even the running game, I know UCLA is not a good running defense. Rutgers, as you mentioned, one of the worst defenses, period, in the country. The worst defense in the Big Ten, I believe. I think they're 18 out of 18 in the Big Ten in total defense. So this is a good time to get that running game going. But they're getting the running game going.
You were probably sitting there yesterday, and I think it was Stephen Means or somebody said, oh, yeah, they're going to think they can run the ball after playing UCLA and Rutgers and then go up to Michigan and try and run it. It's not going to work. But I think it'll work fine enough. In that game, if you can get to 125, push 150, I don't know if it's good enough to outrush the other team, but with this Ohio State offense and the ability to throw the ball, if they can get 125 rushing, push 150, they'll win the game. There's no doubt. I don't care what Michigan rushes for. And they won't rush. And they're not going to rush for 175. So
not against this defense, man. No. You're going to be. I mean, this defense against that one-dimensional offense. I mean, anything can happen. This is
a year where that axiom could go out the window that, oh, you got to outrush the other team to win.
Right.
And right now, the forecast for right now, the weather's not too bad next weekend. So
I was looking at that too. Of course, we're looking at a 10-day forecast. So like they take that with a whole like
take
shaker.
it, tear it in half, throw both halves away.
Yeah, I mean, just like right, inhale some salt. But seriously, like I looked at that too, and it looks like, and you also can look at it like the days leading up to the game. Again, this is a very advanced forecast. The days after the game, doesn't look like there's any like crazy bad weather days. Still prepare. The Buckeyes need to prepare mentally and physically like it's going to be a bad weather game. It's going to be cold.
First weekend of December.
It's going to be dry. Yeah, I mean,
Indianapolis first weekend in December. All the games inside, isn't it?
There you go. Well,
we haven't been to that game in 5 years. That's unbelievable. I say we haven't covered it in 5 years, but yeah.
Exactly. And and then every game will be like indoors except the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And we'll allow that in Pasadena, I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I agree with Buck Rational here. Like, don't go. I don't want to hear going into that week. Oh, whoever wins the rushing battle is going to win the game. Not necessarily. Just go win. Whoever has the most points is going to win the game. That's right. Stop with this nonsense. Things have changed. Now, likely whoever wins the rushing battle will win the game, but you can't go in thinking we have to win the rushing battle to win the game. Just win the damn game. Win the damn game. All right. Now, speaking of losing the damn game, well, I actually like this, but there's going to be a lot of people in the Big Ten, a lot of ADs and presidents and other people that are not happy that this is going to go away, but Michigan's going to be happy. This is one of the rare times I side with Michigan. The private capital deal, the University of California pension fund. It's ironic it comes from the University of California, who the Big Ten stole away, UCLA. But I guess it's not, even though it's through University of California and UCLA and the University of California are sister schools, apparently it's not, that has nothing to do with UCLA, whatever. The UC pension fund has backed out. When they realized Michigan was like, speaking out about it, USC wasn't a big fan of it. So they backed out. Doesn't mean Ohio, doesn't mean the Big Ten can't circle back with them or find another private capital company to come in. But for now, that's been put on pause. And I think that's a good thing. We'll see. I don't know what you think about it, but it's been an interesting story to follow. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think for UC investments, it seemed to me like it was something that was going to create a windfall of money for their pension plan. And they're going to do it on the back of, Big Ten football. And, is Big Ten football going to command as big a television contract the next time? The ratings for these games haven't been very good. And that's a can of worms into itself. I mean, the SEC over on ABC had 2 games this past weekend that drew 10 million. The best Big Ten game, I think, was Ohio State and UCLA, was like 3.5 million. So, there's been a lot of discussion that NBC and CBS in particular got sold a bill of goods on this. And will they be as apt the next time around to spend as much money on this? And so you're cutting off 10% of whatever you earn on an annual basis and giving it to UC investments. You're also tying each of the member schools to one another for the next 20 years. They wanted to extend the grant of rights to 2046. Now the TV deals are going to be renegotiated in about 4 years, I think. I think every time they do it, it's like 6 or 7 years. And we are in year 3, I guess, of this arrangement. So yeah, it's year 3 because it started with CBS doing the Indiana game in 2023. So yeah, to me, ambivalent about the whole thing. I don't want to say it's, evil or anything, some of the things that have come out of the woodwork. I just think it's needless. I just, I don't think giving somebody 10% of your profits makes any sense to me. I think that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, but I think the 10% of the profits is going to more than outweigh what is it? How many billion were they supposed to infuse?
They were going to give $2.4 billion spread across the 18 teams, but like the Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State would have got $190 million. And there's some talk that USC actually would have been okay with the idea if USC was in the top tier. And USC was not in the top tier. Then there was a second tier that just had a couple teams like USC, Oregon, maybe one other one. And then everybody else was in the bottom tier getting only, Steve,
Right.
only 130 million. So Ohio State would have had 190 million. Here's what I think. I agree with everything you said. And like I said, I already said, I'm glad that this is going away. I do fear for many of the 34 varsity sports at Ohio State that lose money. There's 36 varsity sports at Ohio State, as you know. It's the largest athletic department in the country. And it's cool having all these non-revenue Olympic sports. I follow a lot of them. I think it's awesome that Ohio State has the largest athletic department in the country. Is it feasible in the year 2025 to have that without this infusion of cash? I don't know the answer. I fear a lot of those sports in the next 5 years or so will go away at Ohio State.
Yeah, I think you could be right. The bottom line has never been more prescient when you think about you've got revenue sharing that popped in as a new line item for $20 million that wasn't there previously. You've got to look under every cushion and every avenue that you can find to increase revenue. And yet I don't think that this deal is what that's about. I think this deal to bring this money in is for like capital improvements. Ohio Stadium honestly needs about $50 to $100 million worth of renovations. And they're working on some things. I know they're putting the club level in and they're putting a sports bar in, I guess, on the east side and doing some different things. This is something that people don't really want to talk about, but in 2000 is when they did the big renovation, with Jim Tressel. 2001, the first game was when it was all done. And man, it was awesome, when they got it all done.
Yeah.
And yet we're 25 years into that. They're going to go another 25 years. And in 2050, that stadium will at that point be 120 years old. And
almost 130.
I think at that 130, I think at that point it becomes, I'm trying to find the right word to say this, dangerous, potential risky. And I think that Ross Bjork and Ted Carter and whoever follows them need to be the proper stewards here and say, look, we need to put back about $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever. We're going to have to replace that stadium at some point. I know it's not what anybody wants to hear, but at some point, by 2050, 2060, they're going to have to play somewhere else because that thing will be falling down around. There's only so many Band-Aids you can put on a building.
The Colosseum in Rome is still standing, Steve.
Yeah.
And that's like over 2,000 years old. So no, I hear what you're saying. But I don't know. As long as, I don't know, the people that would know, the engineers and the architects, the people that would know a lot about this stuff, as long as I say it's a solid, foundation.
I think at some point you're pissing good money after bad, though, too. When you keep putting $100 million Band-Aid on it every 3 years, it's like, if you just put that money away and come up with, a fund, I think it's, and they can, if it's done the right way, they can have something that's every bit as nice or better than what they have. But that to me is something long term. I'm not saying next year, but that's something that the leadership needs to really start to think about, is that can't stand forever. So that's all I say about that.
All right, I say keep it. If the Coliseum is still standing, I've been in the Coliseum. It's definitely it's interesting. It's one of the coolest places I've ever been, the Coliseum in Rome. But it's been the victim of earthquakes. It's been the victim of wars and stuff like that. But it's still standing. So I say keep the horseshoe at any cost. But I hear what you're saying. All right, great stuff, Steve. Didn't mean to keep you this long. I appreciate it, my friend.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great Wednesday, and we got hoops tomorrow night, 8:00, Western Michigan on Big Ten Network. We'll be all over that. And boy, oh boy, better to pull that game out against Notre Dame. As Thad Matta said, I'd like to learn all the lessons of how bad we are in a win. So I think that was the message coming out of that game last Sunday at the Shot.
Yeah, Buckeye basketball team hopefully will go 5-0 tomorrow, and then the football team will go 11-0 on Saturday. Great stuff, Steve. I appreciate it, man.
Yep. Take care.
Helwagen. Thanks, man. Thanks to Steve. Thanks to all of you. Dan Rubin will be with you guys, with the boys tomorrow, talking recruiting. I imagine we'll have Garrick and the Pooh Ball. I don't know that for sure, but I would bet on it. If not, it'll be a great show regardless. And then I'll be with you with J-Book for BTA Fridays, of course, on Friday. Department C of Redundancy Department. So yeah, J-Book and I, as usual, on Fridays, and I'll be with you for what we learned live after the Rutgers game. Nice little high noon game, which means our 97.1 The Fan tailgate show will begin at like 8:30 a.m. We go 8:30 to 10:30. Then the network pregame show is 90 minutes. Our show's 2 hours. We always start 3.5 hours before every game. We'll do it before the Michigan game. We'll do it before hopefully the Big Ten championship game. So I'll be down there early. It's great seeing a lot of you guys, Buck Rational, Doreen, Asian Posh, and others. So come over and say hi if you guys are going to be there. We're there at the Fan Fest. If you don't know what that is, it's right between St. John Arena and Ohio Stadium, closer to St. John, but between St. John and the stadium. So can't miss it. It's where all like the food vendors are, and they got like live music and stuff. And then we have a 97.1 The Fan tent. So stop by for that, and then definitely stop by for what we learned live right after the Ohio State Rutgers game. Thanks again to Steve Helwagen. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it very much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I know you guys are still basking. Go Bucks.